3 was a hot mess, and I know I said that about week 2, but actually week 3 was the one that was a hot mess. I ended up with less words at the end of week 3 than I had at the beginning of week 2. So at the beginning of week 2, no, sorry, why am I saying at the beginning of week 2? I ended up with less words at the end of week 3 than I did at the beginning of week 3. So I ended week 2 with 17,500-ish words, and going into week 3, the big problem that I was facing was the fact that I knew the chapter that I was working on was just not working, and I'd been kind of working on it, deleting things, and basically I had to delete the whole thing and restart, which was something that I did not want to do. Because as I mentioned before, I struggle quite a bit with pushing myself when there are setbacks. My flesh, when there's a setback, is like, okay, well, why are you trying anyway? And so it's a struggle between my flesh and what is actually true, that work is good, work is given by God, and I must still go and do the work, even if in the moment of my doing the work it feels pointless and I don't see where it is going. And so that was the battle of week 3, and I did not come out on top. The Lord is still good, but I did not come out on top. My flesh fleshed this week. Oh my goodness, what a week. So when I woke up on Monday, I knew that there had to be this deleting of this chapter, but I didn't want to. Like, I don't want to do it. And I also didn't know really the direction that this chapter, like, that would make the chapter work. So it wasn't like I was deleting, because previously when I was deleting, I had already written what was supposed to happen. So it was easier. It wasn't easier, but it was doable because I was deleting a chapter to put in a new one. And so just Monday I was like, I don't want to delete words, because this chapter was close to 3,000 words. So I had close to 3,000 words that I had to delete, that I did not want to delete. And so instead of making progress, as C.S. Lewis says, where he says, and I'm going to butcher this quote, and I apologize in advance, but he has a quote that I think about. Okay, he has a lot of quotes that I think about, or he has a lot of writings that I think about. But the quote that was applicable this week was the one where he says, when you have gone a wrong way, progress means going back rather than insisting on continuing in the wrong way. Which, I mean, sometimes, not even sometimes, when you have to go back, it feels like such a waste to go back. But the sooner you go back, the more progress you make. So Monday, I made no progress. Monday, I was just like giving into my feelings and just like, ugh. And I just sat there and I didn't do what I was supposed to. And I should say that if I was not doing this vlogging and documenting this journey, I honestly think this is the week where I would have taken a break. I would have taken a break / quit for 6 months, because this week presented a major hurdle that I was having to go over, and I was having to try different ways of going over this hurdle, because I rewrote this chapter a number of times, but that is a future me who persevered. Monday, week 3 Monday me just did not write. She did not write. She did not get up. And I do think that is not a good thing. I have said this before, feelings are not the truth. And so to give into those feelings, to give into feelings of sloth, is that the right word? Or I don't know what the right word is for it, but to give into that kind of like just doing what you feel like doing is not good for you, and it is not God glorifying. And this is me preaching to myself, because I need to hear that as part of this journey, as part of a lot of other things. Anyway, so I did not feel like writing on Monday, and so I did not write on Monday, which is bad. It's a terrible thing to do. So it's not a good thing, because I do think if I had woken up and I had tried, I would have been in a much better position after that, even if I didn't figure out where I was actually supposed to go with the chapter. So this writing thing is also a like learning to persevere in work, which is a great thing. Anyway, so Monday, no extra words were added. Tuesday, I did get up and I did write some words. I wrote 322 words on Tuesday, but that also was kind of wasted. Not kind of wasted. I don't want to say wasted, but I think I could have done, it would have been better if I had simply stopped trying to retain the words. I think that was my big thing, that I was still trying to keep the words instead of just letting the words go that needed to be deleted. So I was still trying to retain them and write in between and try to make it work, and it was obviously not working, but I did write those 322 words, which is great that I woke up. It's great that I wrote. Still feeling that kind of like, all this wasted effort, which again is really not wasted effort. I don't think any work that we do is wasted effort. If done well, if done to the glory of God, I don't think it is wasted effort, but it does feel like wasted effort in the moment, even though those feelings are most definitely not the truth. So anyway, that is what I wrote. And then on Wednesday, I was back in my like, oh, I don't feel like writing. Oh, this is so terrible. Why me? Why do I have to delete all my words? Which is self-pity. And again, kept me from actually making progress, because again, this could have been a day where I was pushing myself and trying to figure out how to make the story work, how to get to the next point where I was trying to get. I knew I was trying to go, but the chapter was not taking me from one thing to the other thing. Anyway, so that was not a great day. But at the end of Wednesday, I guess, which actually was just adding Tuesday's words, I had 17,878 words, which is so much words. I think I just wanted to also keep that 17,000 word count, which is such a great word count. I'm so excited. As a side note, I'm so excited to get to 20,000, but more than that, I'm excited to get to a point where it's double the words that took me to write in 6 months. So before the end of the month, I would like to get to basically be like, okay, in a month you wrote the words that you could have written in 6 months, and as a proof of like, stop giving into your feelings, stop being led by your feelings, and just do the work that you're supposed to do. So anyway, on Wednesday, in conclusion, I did not write, and it was the same advice I give myself for Monday is the same advice that is applicable for Wednesday. On Thursday, I finally bit the bullet. And I deleted many words and it hurt my heart, but I deleted those words and started that chapter again. Like I said, the chapter was close to 3,000 words, and I deleted those words and I wrote 710 words, which is great. I think the most at this point that I've written in 30 minutes is like 800 something words. So the 710 is not something to sniff about. Obviously, I was really sad about the fact that I had left the 17,000s. At the end of Thursday, I was at 15,934 words, which is progress. By you went down the wrong way and you needed to go back, and going back that way hurt but was good. So I went back that way and I did write some words, and that was great. And then on Friday, I deleted more words. So basically this was a fight. This week was a fight to try to get over the hump, but being like, okay, that was the wrong way, go back down. And then being like, I don't want to go back down. It's like, no, go back down so you can start trying to get over this hump again. And that's what this week was really about. And at the end of week 3, I did have less words than I had at the end of week 2. And the number of words I had was 16,278 words. And now again, because I think this word thing can become about having more words even if you write nonsense. No, that is not how it ought to be. The point is to write a good book. It is a first draft, so it is terrible. It is going to be terrible, but the story must still be cohesive. There will be a lot of editing in between. So I don't think word count equals quality, but again, the story has to be written to be edited. So, and that's more the point of this, is to be like, you actually have to sit down and write the words that you said you're going to write, and write the story so that there is a first draft that can be edited and made into an actually good product, and in the pursuit of excellence and writing a good and beautiful and true story. But that was week 3. Honestly, week 3 I did have the worst behavior. I don't want to say the week was bad, but I did not come to the table, and that was what was bad. That I didn't come to the table, that I was very much sulky about these 3,000 words that I had to delete, which if I think about it now, if I had simply deleted those 3,000 words and started and wrote my 500 words a day, which is the aim, I would have been at like basically 500 less than last week. But at this point, the week difference, 16,200, so basically 16,300 minus 17,500, I had 1,200 less words. Is it 1,200? It is 1,200. So I had 1,200 less words than last week, whereas I could have actually just had 500 less words than last week if I actually put my hand to the hilt and actually did my work. So yeah, a very trying week. Good for me to be tried in this way. I think, not that I would ever choose discomfort for myself, but it is good for me. It is a way in which the Lord is continuing to grow me. But yeah, a very, very tense week. As I was thinking about it, because over the past 2 weeks, I would say, okay, in this week I wrote this percent of you know, the amount of words I had over 6 months. And so this week was a bit tense because we're back in 50 something. I think it was 55% of what I had written over the 6 months, whereas previously I was at 65. Okay, no, did I say 65? I am at 55%-ish, 55%-ish. I'll put the exact number on the screen. Whereas previously I was at like 65-ish. So yeah, still glad that I got up and wrote, still glad to be still continuing in this, and I will be continuing in this, and I will be trying and doing and writing the story. And even as I'm writing it, I'm like, oh yeah, this needs to be edited. You need to figure out what this is. What is this? Because it's a which I haven't said, it is sci-fi-ish. It's light sci-fi, not, I don't know what intense sci-fi is, but I do know how they have high fiction, and this is not high sci-fi because sci-fi is fiction. But anyway, that is where we are. So I'm like, oh, you need to figure that out, which one assumes that the editing will be easier than the writing, but I don't think it will be. But hopefully by then I would have, not even hopefully, I know my perseverance muscle would have been tested a whole lot more and grown a whole lot more, so that will be much better for me. But anyway, that is it for week 3. Thanks for joining me. Bye.